Hello again, participants, and welcome to Module 2 of Developing Effective Instruction Materials for Technology-Enabled Learning Environments. I'm the facilitator, Nigel King. In this module, we will focus our attention on Open Educational Resources, OER, as they're commonly known. They are described as teaching, learning, and research materials, digital or otherwise, that can be used freely by anyone, anywhere, legally. Open education resources exist in the public domain or have been made available under an open license that permits free access to either use, adapt, redistribute without or with limited restrictions. Free access to these resources encourages knowledge sharing and to promote education. Universities and colleges, in an effort to combat the rising cost of education, in particular textbooks, have been looking towards using open educational resources to provide students with a low-cost, high-quality instruction materials. Over the last couple of decades, technological advances have permitted the marginal cost of education to be so vastly reduced that barriers to education are now being removed for a wider range of potential learners. Affordable access to higher education has been a significant barrier on many of the island states within the Caribbean region, even in those territories where a campus of the regional university is located. Education as an OER is especially relevant in an environment where significant barriers to education continue to exist. The education system in the regions around the world is under tremendous strain from a lack of teacher resources to funding gaps. Topic 1. The role of open educational resources. OERs can be any type of educational material that varies from class handouts to textbooks. They are not unique materials, but their distinction is that they provide users with free and continuous approval to engage in the 5R activities. Those are retain, reuse, revise, remix, and redistribute. Teachers can modify existing materials to align with the learning outcomes, which can be made available to the other teachers to use or adapt. OER textbooks are continually improved through editing and disseminating more rapidly than conventional textbooks. Digital OER materials updated during a semester will allow the teacher to provide availability to increase content timeliness and relevance. The digital nature of OER provides teachers with a unique opportunity to increase student interaction and the course resources not available within commercial textbooks. Teachers can challenge their students to modify the material based on their own research, thus developing critical thinking. OER can provide an alternative access to materials as opposed to engaging in a copyright infringement. As educators' involvement in OER development can showcase their research capabilities, this has the potential to attract the attention of donors and future students. Topic 2. OER in the Caribbean education context. Education is considered to be a universal fundamental human right, as outlined in the Education 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goal number 4. This goal seeks to ensure lifelong access to quality education in order to empower children and adults. One of the challenges in the Caribbean is the access to affordable quality education and resources. OER can deliver free, affordable, quality education. OER can expand learning by removing barriers to effective education. As the region continues to strive for sustainable development, governments invest in educating the population with the hope that this will result in a regional development. Many areas within the region have a limited number of students that can afford to attend university. Quality OER learning materials will significantly reduce the cost of education to millions in the region. OER will enable students to access greater variety of course resources that will help scholarships. The decision to employ OER appears to have financial benefits to students and the parents and taxpayers who support them, without any decrease in their learning outcomes. Much of the available learning materials are written from a North American perspective. This provides regional academics with an opportunity to develop or adapt OER materials to include a more relatable Caribbean content. This will make it easier for students to assimilate content in a culturally relevant context and help collaborators to improve their teaching practice. Educators using OER can unleash an unlimited number of materials to their students. This can be in part or in whole, thus exposing their students to the best available content for the particular lesson as opposed to a single textbook in the traditional classroom. Our region continues to be challenged with technology hurdles, as has been widely reported during the COVID-19 remote teaching initiatives. Digital access to OER will make a significant difference both in terms of cost savings, effective distribution, periodic editing, and revision. Topic number 3, the benefits and challenges. OER offers multiple benefits to any education system, where the pedagogical benefits cannot be overemphasized. It allows educators to modify learning materials to provide topic-specific content. Teachers can augment the course materials to include a range of media that will introduce a variety of content and that will cater to various learning styles. Commercial textbooks force educators in their teaching to suit the materials rather than using a pedagogy that best suits the course. It is without question that OER development has brought many advantages to education. The movement, however, still has much work to do in order to eliminate disadvantages. The perception of quality and of the resource appears to be at the very top of the list of issues or challenges with OER. Further, it has been suggested that the quality is compromised when users can apply or of any of the 5R activities and thereby make changes to the original work without prior review. OER can deliver free, affordable, quality education. OER can expand learning by removing barriers to effective education. OER developers are faced with the challenge that their product may go largely unused after expending considerable effort. Users may not know which repository to use for access, or links may change or disappear. OER generally lacks any financial incentives for the creators, but in a commercial context, the same efforts will receive recognition and reward. Now on to topic number 4, OER quality. Quality assurance plays a critical role in the delivery of quality education, especially from institutions of higher education. Quality education therefore needs to be supported by a wide range of high-quality instructional materials. Skeptics continue to express quality control concerns, since any user can open an account and post materials, which in some cases may not be accurate or even relevant. Further, it has been suggested that quality is compromised when users can apply any of the 5 R's and thereby make changes to the original work without prior review. The quality of any academic product relies heavily on a system of peer review, which is designed to assess the validity, quality, and originality of content. The OER development process differs from the development of commercial education products. The collaborative aspects of OER development is normally voluntary, whereas collaboration in the commercial development will be contractual. OER relies on a system of voluntary peer review to revise and analyze each resource to ensure quality. Merlot, a well-respected OER repository, engages its editorial board to develop evaluation standards for its peer review process. This review considers the quality of content, the potential effectiveness as a teaching tool, and the ease of use of the OER. The first stage of the review is done by the editorial board, who conducts a cursory review to identify materials to be reviewed. Now on to the next topic, guidelines for OER development. It is recommended that developers begin by remembering that OER are openly licensed, freely available education materials that can be modified or redistributed by users. Further, if the resource is not free or openly licensed, it cannot be designated as an OER. To get started, the developer should first consider if the required OER already exists in the desired format. If not, the developer should consider adapting suitable OER sourced from reputable repositories. This shortcut will provide assurance that the materials to be used have been peer-reviewed and are digital rights compliant. The selection of the OER to be adapted must consider the licensing that will allow the new resource to have the widest possible licensing options. The work of creating the OER can be overwhelming, hence a team with the right expertise should be recruited to support the project. This team can engage in editing and peer review. The team should include instructional designers, ICT specialists, and librarians who can add value to the product or to the project. On to topic 6, Creative Commons and copyright laws. Repository organizations are involved in the creation and distribution of OER and are able to do so successfully as a result of the validation process. There is a general assumption that OER published under Creative Commons license are valid. This means that based on the stipulations of the specific Creative Commons license, that a resource is open and free to use by anyone. This is not always correct. So it requires the staff to conduct a meticulous digital rights compliance scrutiny to ensure that a valid CC license. Work that contains content originally published under a closed license would be considered illegal. Creative Commons is perhaps the best, most widely used model of open licensing for education materials. The CC OER license is a public copyright that permits free distribution of otherwise copyrighted work. It allows creators to grant permission to use, share, adapt their work, written text, photos, graphics, music, film, etc. Creators can also add specific restrictions to those permissions. I want to thank you very much for viewing.